So apparently these surveys have been going out to people, and it's basically asking about Classic Plus, which technically we already have. Um, Season of Discovery, that whole thing. So Classic Plus to fans, to gamers, to the player base, is basically classic, but putting in things that they might have not had time to put in like they wanted, like player housing. Because player housing was planned all the way back, when World of Warcraft was, ye big, still running around in their diapers. It was planned all the way back then. They just never implemented it. Um, Karazhan Crypts was supposed to be something, never implemented it, but it is implemented now. I think it's a dungeon in Classic Plus. So things like that. Mount Hyjal, if you guys remember, it had like a thing in front of it. It was like like a zone, but something like that. Or taking areas that we know, like zones we know, and adding new spots to them. I think that was a new Hearthglen or new Avalon, like New Avalon, I think it is, or Old Avalon, whatever it is. But it's a zone but it's a new area in that zone. So technically, we already have Classic Plus, which makes me kind of think that they might make Season of Discovery and that whole thing more into Classic Plus, making like different expansions for it. So instead of Burning Crusade, it could be something different. It could be an entirely new expansion. But this was sent out to people. It says, thank you. Now we'd like to ask you about what kinds of features you'd like to see in a hypothetical new version of World of Warcraft Classic. We are testing multiple concept ideas that have come from many different places, including from prior survey feedback like yours. Not all the ideas you may see are actually under consideration at the time, but your feedback on them helps us understand what gamers just like you want to see from in World of Warcraft Classic, and sometimes even more importantly, what you wouldn't like to see. So it's just saying, be honest. And so we have, these features. So first feature, introduction of Shaman class to the Alliance. So back in Classic, they didn't have shamans. We didn't have paladins, so it was a trade-off. We didn't have paladins, they didn't have shamans. But being able to play Classic WoW as a shaman on the Alliance side, that's kind of Classic Plus as well. Collections, a UI-based storage, which we already have. I mean, all the stuff that we already have in retail, do not add it. The whole point of Classic WoW or Classic Plus is to feel like a brand new experience. So all the stuff like the collections and this and that, the stuff that we already have, no, just keep that stuff out. Let us go back to what it was like during Classic. Where we didn't have a tab for mounts and pets and heirlooms and transmog and all that, where we were just adventurers who were in weird looking gear because, it was random. So collections, account-wide collections, stuff like that, no. New player character models. Character models similar to those used in World of Warcraft and modern World of Warcraft. Yeah, so if it's going to make it closer to current WoW, no. Absolutely not. Like this, pet battles, no. Leveling professions improvements. I think that's more of a quality of life kind of thing. So, new class abilities and spells, that'd be really cool. And keep in mind, this is stuff that Ascension WoW has already done. Like, they introduced 21 new classes, and if you look on my channel, I've tried some of them, and they're really good. I think Knights of Zoroth was the last one I played. Really good. The Sun Cleric is really fun, especially especially with the spell that you can use. I forgot what it was called, but you click on it, got this cool looking like golden orangey aura, and every time I click on it, I ask Adam, "What do you want? Can I help you?" Someone wants to come up and say hello. Come on, come on, Adam. Come on. Yeah. You guys want to see me rub my pussy? It's Adam. Mwah. Hey, Bubba. What are you doing? He's like, oh, Grandpa, just laying under your desk, trying to get your attention because I'm so needy. Can you say hi to everyone? You can barely see him. He's so black, you can't even see him. Oh, Bubba. It's just like I'm just holding a black mass. I'm holding Eldritch Terrors in my arms. For all you know, this thing could grow tentacles at any moment. I'm holding the void. Mwah. But yeah, like Ascension, it's really good. And like I was saying, the spell that like with Sun Clerics, every time I click on it, I gotta do the whole, Goku going Super Saiyan 3 because that's what it reminds me of. And I'm like, and this is to go even further beyond. And then I just start doing do 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 because that's what it reminds me of. You got this golden orangey aura going, and it just makes you super strong. So that's what I think of when I with the Sun Cleric move, that spell that they have. I've tried Necromancer. I've tried what else did I try? Blood Mage. But yeah. So new class abilities and spells. If they could add new classes, actually that might be part of the next one. Having new classes, honor rewards redesign. WoW token, no. Get the WoW token out of that. Classic WoW should not have the WoW token. Current day WoW should have the WoW token. Honor rewards redesign. Again, if it's more of a quality of life that makes it more accessible for people who may be on the fence about PvP and all that. Because it's like you look at classic WoW and you see how long you have to grind just to get anything, and you're like, I don't have that time. This isn't 2004 anymore. We don't have the kind of time we did back in the day. Even the people who are our age right now, they don't even have time anymore. So, I mean, the era is just so different, and people don't have time to grind for honor. So making rewards and stuff not super easy, but like you don't have to grind 5 months to get like one piece of gear. Doing that would definitely be appreciated. Class talent adjustments. I don't know. I think the fun part of Classic was how unbalanced it was. But it also is like, oh well, it's a cookie cutter now, because if you're playing this this class and this spec, no one's gonna have you in the groups. They're not gonna invite you to raid because you're not gonna do that much DPS. They're gonna invite everyone who's just incredibly overpowered, completely unbalanced. So, class adjustments and making sure everything's balanced. Yeah, I mean, again, it makes it good for people who want to raid and do groups. It makes it to where they can have a chance of actually joining a group instead of like, oh, what's your class and spec? No. Like back in the day with Ret Pallies, if you were a Ret Pally, you were laughed at. You were laughed at, you were mocked, you were ridiculed. The people would call up your jobs and be like, hey, guess what? Does this person work for you? Why, yes, they do. Yeah, well, in World of Warcraft, he plays a Ret Pally. I just thought you should know. And then you go in the next day to work, and then your boss is like, yeah, can you come into the office real fast? And you're like, what's wrong? Yeah, I got a very concerning phone call yesterday. Apparently, you play World of Warcraft. Yeah, well, that's not the troubling part that I'm referring to here, but apparently you play Ret Pally. Yeah. Now, some of the other employees have heard this, and we're gonna have to let you go because you're just a moron, and the other employees just don't feel safe around you. So we're gonna have to end your employment here because I'm a red pally. Yeah, the other employees they just don't feel safe. They just don't feel safe, and they don't want to catch you're stupid. I tried to finish that without laughing, but I couldn't help it. But yeah, stuff like that. If you were a red pally, you were laughed at. You're like, no. They would not let you join. But nowadays, red pallies are really good. Really good. Very, very good. High, big PP energy. Account wide perks and progression, kind of like in Cataclysm, which I kind of liked. You know, it gave you a reason to like join guild and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, your Hearthstone, yeah, you know how you have to wait like an hour for it to cool down. Now it's only like 30 minutes. Pets and mounts and heirloom gear, and so maybe, but when it comes to like account wide stuff, I just would prefer there not to be like current day stuff because the whole point of WoW Classic is to experience it like it was classic. The more current day stuff you add, it's playable high elves. Soka. Playable high elf like race for the Horde and the Alliance. I don't think that I mean the high elves were in the game, are still in the game. It's just they're not playable. The high elves were, the blood elves before they became blood elves, and they were part of the Alliance. So you kind of have high elves, but you don't. It's like blood elves are like high elf, like diet high elf. It's there, but not quite. Revisiting known but unexplored zones. Visiting zones that were part of Warcraft history, but were never playable in original World of Warcraft. Mount Hyjal, Uldum, Gilneas. Yeah, so Mount Hyjal was blocked off. Uldum had that. If you remember, you went to Daenerys, and there was that one side, the other side of the zone where you'd have like the sea. I think it was like was it sea giants or something like that? But there was a big gate, and it led to Uldum. Gilneas had a big wall, gate in front of it. And these were all places that were meant to be played in Classic, but for one reason or another, they just never got around to doing it. But we did get Uldum eventually in the form of Uldum in Cataclysm. Gilneas became a starting zone in Cataclysm. Mount Hyjal essentially became a raid in Burning Crusade, but also we did get Mount Hyjal in Cataclysm. So pretty much everything like that we got in Cataclysm. It's just like if you look at the Hyjal map when it was Classic, it was pretty much the one you saw in the battle for Mount Hyjal. That's what it was supposed to be. The one in Cataclysm was completely different. One reason, obviously, because of being scorched and all that by Deathwing. But yeah, I would love that. We have like New Avalon or whatever it is. So adding new zones or stuff like that. Taking zones we know and adding new places to them. Places on the map. The Dragon Isles was originally a lot different, but they changed it. It eventually, obviously, was released as an expansion, Dragonflight, but it was originally planned for Classic. The Emerald Dream was originally planned for Classic. Hellfire, like Outland, was originally planned for Classic. Okay, buddy, you're getting heavy now. Over. My fly! He's like, Grandpa, no. So all those places, that would really, and especially with Outland, with the way it looked more like it did in Warcraft 3. So, I mean, it could have been, I think it might have just been a test area to kind of see how it would look, but it looked more akin to Warcraft 3. But I think that would be really cool. Classic Plus already does that. They added an entirely new dungeon. Like completely brand new, original. They've added Karazhan Crypts. Again, that was they were gonna use it, but then they didn't. But then they used it in Legion for the Lucid Nightmare mount or whatever, where you went down into the crypts and you got the Lucid Nightmare. But it was supposed to be a dungeon, which now in Classic Season of Discovery, they made it into a dungeon. Player housing, again, player housing was all the way back when WoW was still barely able, not even able to talk yet. They were just... That's how long player housing's been around. Or supposed to be around. But they never did. They never did. And we're getting it now in Midnight. Achievements, no. No. Cross-realm play, I would maybe say yes to that because, again, it takes away the need to sit and, anything like with, like maybe a group, a better, more improved group finder, maybe not, like the group finder in, current WoW, but something better than what they had back in the day. Because again, we don't have the same time we did back in the day. We don't have 3-4 hours just to sit in the capital city, like, doing dead mines, need blah blah blah, and then good to go. And then you go all your horde, and you're going all the way over the Eastern Kingdoms, all the way to Westfall, and you're traveling down all the way to the dead mines. And then you start pulling, and then you something happens, and a person dies. That person leaves, and now what happens? Now you got to go all the way back to Kalimdor, to the capital city, and you got to sit there until someone joins the party again. In which case, people in the group, unless you have a warlock, they got to run all the way out to the front, go to the summoning stone, summon you back, and then you got to run all the way back to the dungeon. And then guess what? Something happens again. And these dungeons back in the day took like 2-3 hours to do. So people leaving was a constant thing. So a 2-hour run essentially turned to 4 or 5 hours because you had to keep going back all the way to the capital city. So ways of having a group, but then kind of instantly just kind of, just staying in the dungeon and summoning them to you. Instead of having to go all the way out to the summoning stone. That would be great. That would be great. War mode, no. Classic Plus does not need war mode. Anything classic like that does not need war mode. Brand new zones, absolutely. Absolutely. I would, because there's same thing with Eastern Kingdoms. It had a few other places that didn't actually make it to the game. The bananas, the Telebeam bananas? Yeah. That's an island. We were supposed to be able to go there. Didn't happen. So to see new areas, that would be really, really cool. Fresh brand, just a clean slate. Blizzard can just run wild and just let their creativity just, they had an idea for what these places would look like back in the day. And now with better technology, they can actually implement them and make them gorgeous. So yeah, I would love to see brand new zones. 20 player raids, 40 player raids. Again, that would make it better for people who want to raid, because 10 player, that's not a lot. So yeah, those perfectly fine. Graphical improvements to lighting, shadows, and surface reflections. No, I think Classic, the reason why it's still so great is because of the graphics. because they're not completely outdated, but they're old enough to give it charm and personality. So no, new trade skills. I mean in Ascension WoW they've got wood cutting, so you take up wood cutting, you get an axe, and you see trees, and you can chop the trees. You get your wood, and yeah. So having a new class like wood cutting or whatever else, that'd be really cool. New battleground, kind of like Azara Crater, which was an unreleased um, PvP, a battleground. It was really, really cool looking. It had like two dragon statue type thing. It was really, really cool. Unreleased. So stuff like that, battlegrounds that they had planned originally, but just never got to implement for one reason or another. Aha, ones that everyone wants. New race and class combinations. Yeah, there's even now there's still like, especially in classic, there's still a lot of limitations to and race combinations. So that would really help people really get immersed in the experience, but it also takes away from the whole lore of the characters. Um, so if you have, I don't know, something like undead, having them become like a shaman doesn't really make sense. Or, something like that. But, so what new class, that'd be really cool. New class, like I said, with Ascension, 21 different classes. And they're all brand new, they're unique, and they've got the ones that people wanted. Necromancer, Tinker, Witch Doctor, Sun Cleric, all these classes that people have wanted for ages, Ascension WoW has done, and they've done it extremely well, and that team is way smaller than Blizzard. If they can implement it just fine, Blizzard could easily implement them as well. 10-player raids. Transmog, no. Playable paladins on Horde. See, that's what I said at the beginning. It's like, the Horde in the beginning, we didn't have paladins. We didn't have paladins, and the Alliance didn't have shamans. Now it's a fucking free-for-all. They got fucking shamans. We get paladins. It's fucking anarchy. But Transmog, again, that's the charm of Classic, where you look like a noob. Unless you have a tier set, you're gonna look like a noob. You're gonna have a headpiece that clearly doesn't match with the shoulders, and you have like the leather straps for a freaking chest piece, and your feet are you're barefoot. That's the charm of it. Because back then we weren't looking to be badass, when we ran around. But having like tier sets definitely showed off your status. But it's like, hey, look, I got a new piece of gear. Great. Now I look stupid. And then you get another piece of gear. And then you go from like these little tiny shoulders to like massive pauldrons. You're like, okay, now I look ridiculous. And that was the charm. That was the charm. Nowadays, I mean, and I'm guilty of it. I love Transmog. It's like a fucking fashion show for yourself. You're like, ooh, that headpiece is good. Do I have anything that goes with it? Like, I just played not too long ago. I got the stuff from the trading post, the helm or whatever. I forgot the name of it, but it's like the set, the fiery shoulders and the headpiece and all that. And I'm sitting there like, now what would go great with Thieves? Oh my god, oh my god, that is the perfect chest piece. It's the perfect chest piece. And then I'm going through the weapons. I'm like, oh my god, do you know what really would just fit this outfit just so good? The flaming Ashbringer. Oh god, there is so good. That is perfect. So I'm guilty of it. I love Transmog, but I also like back in the day when it's like, okay, I look like a fucking goof because everything doesn't match. And you're on that start screen and you're ready to click your character and he's looking at you all judgmental. He's like, Why do I look like this? Sorry, buddy. You're wearing what you're wearing because that's what I got. Um, regardless, I will reshape this world as it was meant to be. Regardless of which version of WoW is your current main version, what version of WoW do you think will become your main version in the future once Classic Mists of Pandaria ends? Classic era, e.g., vanilla style servers, realms with Mists of Pandaria characters, a different version of Classic without Mists of Pandaria characters, retail modern WoW with my Mists of Pandaria characters, Wrath of the Lich King Classic, or another earlier Classic. So, are they going to be adding Wrath Classic as its standalone thing? Because we had Wrath Classic, but then it's like, oh, we're going to be heading over to, it's going to evolve into Cataclysm Classic. So are we getting Wrath Classic? Which is weird because we don't have Burning Crusade Classic to just play. We had Classic, Vanilla Classic, and then we had Burning Crusade, because it like any expansions, and then it went to Wrath of the Lich King, and then it went to Cataclysm. So are we going to get Burning Crusade as well? But then again, it's like, at what point does it become too much? Because then they're going to have to do that with every single expansion because it's all going to be Classic at some point. So you're going to click on the little menu there, and you're going to have like a menu this freaking big. It's be World of Warcraft, Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, Mists of Pandaria, Warlords of Draenor, Legion, and it's just going to keep going and going. So, I mean, when is enough enough? That's why I say that Classic should have ended with Wrath of the Lich King, because now it's just going to Mists of Pandaria Classic, Warlords of Draenor Classic, Legion Classic, and then we're going to be up to a point where we're having Shadowlands and Dragonflight Classic. And it's just, when does it stop? It's not Classic. Classic was the game before the world changed. So to have like the war within Classic, no. Classic Warlords of Draenor, if it becomes available, best expansion ever. No. A permanent Frozen Mists of Pandaria Classic realm with no further updates. I do not plan to continue playing WoW after the end of Classic Mists of Pandaria. But I would love for them, because I liked playing on Wrath of the Lich King Classic. But nope. It was like, nope, it's going to be, we're coming out with Cataclysm Classic. Yeah, I know you guys want Wrath Classic to stay, but too bad. Too bad. You think you want it, but you don't. But it's the new things, basically like all this stuff that they're kind of doing already. So this is kind of like a Classic Plus feel. Like I said, with the whole new areas and stuff like that. That's something you do in Classic Plus, which they're already doing. So Season of Discovery and that side of Classic WoW, it's already Classic Plus. So if they take this feedback and they say, oh yeah, we'll be adding Hyjal, or we'll be adding Azshara Crater to the, that'd be great. Hey, we're gonna add playable Murlocs because everyone's been freaking foaming at the mouth for playable Murlocs since the beginning. Playable ogres, playable Naga. Like I said, with like classes like the Tinker or Necromancer, we have in Ascensions, they work, which means Blizzard could do the same thing. It's just they have to be willing to do it. But all this other stuff, if it's anything that makes it like current day WoW, keep it out. Keep it out. The only thing that should be introduced are more quality of life things. Like I said, a better like dungeon type thing, so that way if someone leaves, you don't have to go all the way back to the capital city. Like, hey guys, need one heal, good to go, and then you sit there for 3 hours. Finally get someone, get to the dungeon, and then someone was like, oh well, I'm just tired of waiting, I'm gonna leave, and it's like, oh great, now I have to go all the way, So quality of life, great, but if it's gonna make it more like current WoW, like the WoW token. No, keep that shit out. Keep it out. But anyway, let me know what you guys think would be great for a classic plus type of scenario. But that's gonna do it for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.